as a PG podcast, but then Devin just kept on dropping shits and fucks, and
I'm just trying to figure out what's in her mouth.
I just want to see him interview Francesco Accoli.
No, he's a good human being, is what he would say about himself, I'm sure.
Who's hosting this thing?
Take charge, Kevin, would you? Jeez.
First time we ever met those guys. That was the major drunken pub argument.
I think you guys are the worst.
I'm gonna have to probably watch some Canucks hockey, unfortunately.
Just making friends left, right, and center, and probably some enemies as well.
Tell him to shut up. He needs to hear that every once in a while.
Off to a good start.
All right. We are live.
It's okay to talk when it goes live.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hockey Podcast. You can, of course, follow us on Twitter at podcast_hockey, facebook.com, the Hockey Podcast, youtube.com, the Hockey Podcast, where we currently continue to stand at 100 and Barclay good row of subscribers, as well as you can subscribe to the audio shortly after this. We are preparing as the Montreal Canadiens need to bring out the broom to sweep away the cat known as the New York Jets. Hi, Carl. As the Canadiens shockingly, I think for a lot of people, shockingly, are up 3-0 in that series. The series could end. We'll discuss that as well as the news. Devin is here with Carl. Hello, Devin.
Hello. Yes, Carl just wants attention all of a sudden. So, well, he makes occasional presence known on the podcast. So, hello, Kev. I see you have a friend there too. Hey.
Yes, this is a broom.
Oh,
in preparation of sweeping. What?
I love it. I think it's great, but I wonder what Sean thinks of it.
Oh, I think Kevin needs to clean up his act.
Oh, that was horrible.
You guys are dueling for the dad jokes of the year, honest to God.
Yes, and we're not even dads. That's the thing. We could be,
I mean, in my friends group, everybody's a dad. So
fair, but I literally do not have children, and probably should, based on this, not have children. But anyway, how are things? What's going on?
Things are good here. We're about to go into stage 2 this week, hopefully, for Alberta restrictions, which means that the gym that I own opens up, and things will get back to somewhat normalcy. As far as normal goes for the past 16 months. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
Will you have to, I'm just curious, are you going to be doing something and it's not going to go on protocol here necessarily? It's going to be very least questionable protocol. You'll defend it and then a week later apologize for it? Will that happen?
I never apologize for anything, Kev.
That is a good way to live.
I own up to everything, or I try to. I really do. I mean, everybody crosses the line every once in a while, but overall, everything should be kosher with this reopening.
Fair. Sean, what's going on?
Well, I'm just looking forward to to voting on whether or not Alberta wants the equalization payments to end, and then realizing that we have no control over that, and that's the federal thing.
I was going to say I'm quite confused on what you're talking about here.
Yeah.
We got to vote.
Well, our grand and glorious leader here in Alberta has decided that we have to have a referendum on whether or not Alberta wants to continue paying the equalization payments to the federal government. So, I think it's a waste. I think it's a waste, but whatever. Well, let's move on to more fun stuff. Let's move on to hockey.
That's quite political. Let alone the fact that that same premier broke his own restrictions. Anyway, Kev, please let's move on.
Okay, I do think, just very quickly, I do want to start also just say our condolences to the Muslim community today. In London, 5 pedestrians were struck because they were Muslim. Police have said that they've basically called it an act of terrorism. So I do want to just say a condolences and thinking of our Muslim friends today. If there's any out there, if you know any of them, maybe reach out, as it's going to be a very tough day to them. But now let's go on to hockey. I did want to bring, I had to bring that in. You know me. I think that's anyway.
No. As far as racism goes, there's no racism on this podcast whatsoever. So if you're going to put in their chats any racist comments, or if you are a racist, we don't want you a part of our viewership. We really don't. So
yeah, well, I'll block you.
You can leave stage left.
But if you have any questions, comments, hockey related, please put them in there. Like the video. Tell your friends about the videos. We've got some pod clips coming up. We did a clip about Andrew Mangiapane. That's out. We'll have another clip tonight coming out about arenas and how much we want the old school arenas. So we got that coming up. And then now I'll promote that a little bit later. Anyway, Jets, Habs. Let's get into the hockey. Sorry, it took 6 minutes and 45 seconds to get into the hockey here. So how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how surprised are you that the Habs are might be able to bring out the brooms tonight?
I'll let Sean go
I
first.
didn't expect it. I did not expect that at all. I thought this was going to be a hard-fought series that was going to go like 6 or 7 games, and the fact, the Scheifele hit and suspension has really turned the series upside down, and the Jets just can't seem to get any sort of offense going. And they should have the players that can step in and at least hold the fort until Scheifele's back. But Dubois has been absolutely invisible this series, and that's the biggest reason why we're looking at potentially a sweep tonight. And if Winnipeg does want to find a way to pull a miracle, they need Pierre-Luc Dubois to step up and be a true number one center and drive play and create offense and make sure that and just be dominant. Because if he's not, who else is stepping up to do that up the middle?
Well, I mean, arguably Blake Wheeler, he could be playing center. He has the body to do it. He's a big dude. And I'm surprised they haven't really utilized that at all. He's been on the wing for the majority of this series, and there needs to be some sort of shakeup within this lineup to spark something. You know, I do feel bad that they've had a bunch of posts and bars that they've hit. Ehlers and Blake Wheeler had one in the second period there. Wheeler thought that he actually scored, but he didn't, and it seems like they are snake bitten to a certain extent, which is really too bad. But overall, they have to find a way. You know, like Sean's right. Pierre-Luc Dubois needs to be some sort of relevance within this series, and he hasn't. Ehlers can only do so much, but I think there's also a 30-goal scorer that needs to show up too, which is Kyle Connor. I feel like he has not shown up at all. He's been actually exposed on multiple times, and not in a good way, towards scoring chances and goals in past Connor Hellebuck. Connor Hellebuck can only do so much, and I feel like he's doing his job for the most part, but he doesn't have the support in front of him. And if we're looking at the depth on defense, Derek Forbort, you know, he does a great job being bottom 3 defenseman, but overall you can't really rely on him to make those minutes up for missing DeMello or even Tucker Pullman. You know, I believe he had over 20 minutes last night, and yes, it was to a point where, okay, well, why put out Neil Pionk and why put more strain on your top defenseman? So, you know, roll out the defensive. The other defenseman, but it really does baffle me, the fact that this group has not been able to come together and solidify as a team, and pushing for at least one win. It really does baffle me, and not to give enough credit to Montreal Canadiens fans and Montreal Canadiens. They've played very well, and they deserve to be where they are right now, 100%.
Yeah, look, here's some stats. Yoel Armia, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. Got Corey Perry, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points. Nick Suzuki, 4 goals, 6 points. Kotkaniemi, 4 goals in 9 games. Caulfield hasn't scored yet. Philip Deneau has been no goals, but he's been a monster again throughout the series. Brendan Gallagher has a couple of goals. I do think the loss of Jeff Petrie is a significant loss. He will not play tonight. But I'm sure that I think Romanoff will probably get in or John Merrill, and they'll be able to work that through. And Carey Price hasn't had to have been spectacular, but how do I word this? No, I'm not going to blame Connor Hellebuck. It's like your team needs to score. That's the bottom line. But like Carey Price has been Carey Price, and the Jets are not able to produce any offense. And maybe the question comes out of this. I think one of the questions that comes out of this is, as much as we've been impressed with how deep that forward group's in Winnipeg is, maybe it's a bit overrated. Maybe a little bit.
Well, I think it's too small a sample size to say whether it's overrated or not. They've run into a hot team who's playing really, really well, a hot goalie who's playing really well, and they lost. And they've played the last 2 games without their number one center. I think you take that away, but their players haven't played up to what they can play. Like, we haven't seen Nick Ehlers play the way he can. We haven't seen Kyle Connor play the way he can. We haven't seen the way Pierre-Luc Dubois can play. I think it's just they haven't played up to their standard. Like, I would love to see this tonight, where both teams are playing at their best, and that would be a great game to watch. We haven't seen Winnipeg play at their best this series, so I cannot say that we're looking at an overrated top forward group in Winnipeg. Just they haven't played at their best in these 3 games.
Yeah, it's too. Yeah, Sean's point is it's too much of a small sample size to really you rubber stamp that right on top of them. But we know what this team can do, and what were we saying before this series started was that the Jets, their top 9 are better than the Montreal Canadiens' top 9 on paper, but overall they just have not come to play. And if you really think about it, you had a Montreal team coming back from 3-1 against Toronto, having that momentum, not having that much time off. It's a fine balance within the playoffs to have time off to make sure that you're able to be healthy. But if you don't have the momentum, I believe that the Jets were off for 8 to 9 days. Off the top of my head, and that's really hard to just jump back in after that much time off. That's almost a week and a half of just downtime, especially being in Winnipeg, where you can't really do much. You can't go hang out with your buddies. Like there's still restrictions within in place, so you can't really live the life that you normally do, and that has a massive part to it too. And to Montreal, yeah, like I said, they're coming off a 3-1 down, 3-1 victory in the first round over Toronto, and they're just rolling. And they only had, I think, a day or 2 break in between the 2 series. So if you really break it down within that, I'm not surprised that Montreal is playing the way they are. And God, I commend that. I love that. It's really, really nice to see. But at the same time, for entertainment value for us fans, we want to see the best go against the best. And right now, it really doesn't seem like Winnipeg is playing at their best. And I don't even think that this is the best that Montreal can play. You know, I feel like Cole Caulfield, he's knocking at the door to really blow out. You saw him dance around a little bit last night. He was very much a Patrick Kane-esque, if you will. I thought, at least. And I'm just waiting for those young stars just to start realizing and build off the confidence that they have been throughout the past series and a half to break out. And that's where stuff's going to get real scary for whoever they play next, if they are able to sweep or win tonight.
They are sort of reminding me of there's a little 94 Canucks in them, in that they're catching fire at the right time. There's a little 93 Canadiens in them when they're getting the goaltending and the defense, and 86 Canadiens in them as well. But I mean, they're getting the things done at the right time. Like Corey Perry seems to know when to score it all. Like Corey Perry is not a Corey Perry's not a. I'm not calling him a wonderful human being or anything like that, but I mean, there's a lot of things that Corey Perry's done that's been a little dirty and douchey, but he seems to know when to score a goal. Like I don't remember a goal that is not important that somehow Corey Perry doesn't score, that just doesn't turn a game or impact a game at some point. Although you can say that about any goal, but it feels like Corey Perry does that as well as anyone does in the National Hockey League.
That's why he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's because he does those things. He's a clutch guy. He's very much Justin Williams-esque, Mr. Game 7. He shows up when it counts. And that's why that signing was such a good signing. And the fact that if it was any normal year, I wouldn't have that much of a cadence towards liking that or disliking that for the Canadiens. Obviously, I'm a Maple Leafs fan and I'm also a Flames fan as well. But having him play my two teams as much as he did, he made a difference. He really did. And he's making a difference now, which isn't surprising, and it shouldn't be surprising to anybody else.
Yeah, right now it's not about who is the I would say the quote unquote better team. It's about who's playing better and who's executing better and who is exploiting the other team's weaknesses better. That's what playoff hockey is. I think we can get caught up in overreacting in terms of evaluating how good a team is based off of a playoff run. Us as hockey fans, NHL fans, we put too much stock into how a team plays in the playoffs in terms of evaluating how good they are, as opposed to how they play in an 82-game season where you actually see how good teams are. So it just, in terms of how the Habs are playing, they're playing great. They deserve as much kudos and praise as is put out there, because they are outplaying their opponents. They are finding ways to shut down the top offensive players on the Leafs and now the Jets. The Jets have 4 goals in 3 games. That's not good enough. You can say that like maybe they need a stop here or there from Connor Hellebuck, but if they're scoring just over 1 goal a game, you're not gonna win. Not in this NHL. You need to score, and they need to find a way. They need to find a way to figure to get some offense going here, or else it is going to be a sweep. And the Habs have found a way to use their strength, which is that big, physical, strong defense and strong and pesky forward group to shut down a very good top 6, top 9 led Winnipeg Jets, and they deserve all the credit for that.
And just to your point there, Sean, on you do see talent within an 82-game series or season, sorry, but when it comes to playoffs, the pressure's on, and you need. Elliot Freeman has talked about this a lot within the past 5 years, and I respect him for it, because I do respect him what he says as he is as an analyst. But he has talked about you have a regular season team, and then you have a playoff team, and it's very, you got to find a good mix between the two of them, because there's a lot of players out there and a lot of teams out there that once push comes to shove, they're not able to push past that pressure that is put on them through the fans, through their own expectations, through the organization's expectations of them. And I mean, look at Mitch Marner. You know, there's been a lot of talk lately about him not being able to, and Austin Matthews not being able to push past the first round. And same with the Flames. Sean Monahan, Johnny Gaudreau, they got to go. And I truly believe that's the case. And the Jets, they have had playoff success. So when it comes down to really looking at it as a whole, you've seen the success that they can have within the Jets organization. Yes, they've been in the league for I believe 10 years now, and the amount of success that they do have isn't quite there. Did they not make it to the Eastern Eastern Conference Final one year? I'm pretty sure they did. I know they've been in the second round.
Let's see here.
Yeah, because my point is that they've had that success. They've had the playoff success. So this is why it doesn't really make too much sense why they're not being able to do this. And yes, you lost Mark Scheifele, but that should be an opportunity for an Andrew Kopp, for Nikolai Ehlers, even though he is a great playoff performer, to step up, let alone Pierre-Luc Dubois. I've said this multiple times. He's shown that he's able to take over a series. And that was against when he was with the Columbus Blue Jackets, when he was playing against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they swept the Tampa Bay Lightning. But he's a shadow of that player right now, and that is a damn shame for Jets fans. It's a damn shame because Patrick Laine was a fan favorite, and when he left, I feel like the majority of Jets fans were upset about it because they loved Laine and what he brought to that team. And I thought that it would be a great trade, and it's really too early to tell because Pierre Dubois, he is only 23 years old, or 22, depending on when his birthday is, and he's still a young player. So it's going to take time for him to get back into it. And there's a rumor out there that he on his off days he's going to Home Depot and picking up multiple times to Home Depot and picking up a bunch of stuff for his dad's company. And I think that's hilarious, first of all, that's out there. And second of all, it's like, okay, well, first of all, where do your priorities lie? And if that is true, and I know we're talking about rumors, but he looks tired. So obviously the way that he's thinking right now and the mindset that he has isn't enough to be in the right mindset to win, because you got to eat, breathe, live hockey, especially at this time of year, especially with that core when you have a Blake Wheeler and a Mark Scheifele who have been known to be hockey nerds and wanting to win so bad that they'll do anything to do that. And he doesn't have that right now, and that is the detriment of the Jets right now.
Yeah, the Jets went to the Western Conference Final in 2018, losing to Vegas in 5.
And they still have the same core, right?
They've got the same core, but they lost a lot of that blue line.
Well, Sherratt was on there, right? Trouba.
Sherratt, Trouba, Bufflin.
Yep.
Myers.
Yep.
They basically lost the whole blue line. This is what happened there. So like but learning and there's been a lot of other turnover because I think they had Brandon Tanev there and others. Like they had players who could, and they've lost them. And they said
what a massive loss Brandon Tanev was. He was a heart and souler, honestly. When he went down to Pittsburgh, that was a big win for Pittsburgh. Sorry, Sean.
Oh, you're right. He was, and the contract he got was crazy because he got like he still has 4 years left after this year. Like he signed a long-term deal,
6 years at whatever. So
3.5.
Yeah.
But they have players like that. They've got Mason Appleton. They've got Adam Lowry. They've got Andrew Kopp. It's just they need the top players and they need their defense to be able to step up as well, and learning how to win in the playoffs is so big, and learning how to overcome adversity in the playoffs is so big as well. Maybe we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but with Colorado and Vegas, this is a huge series for Colorado for that specific reason. Yeah. They go up, they blow out Vegas 7-1 in game 1. They survive game 2 and go up 2-0. And now it's tied 2-2. And basically since the second period of game 2, it's been all Vegas. Like they have to learn. And it's the same thing here. It's one of the biggest reasons why Montreal beat Toronto is learning how to win in the playoffs, learning how to overcome adversity, learning how to adjust your game on the fly to be able to match the style that your opponent is playing and the systems they're deploying. And that's a huge thing that really needs to happen here with Winnipeg, is they need to figure out what's going on and how to exploit, because there's no perfect system in hockey. There's always going to be something that you can exploit, especially when you've got skilled players like Blake Wheeler and Kyle Connor and Nick Ehlers. Nick Ehlers specifically, who's one of the most skilled players and fastest skaters in the NHL. You have to find a way to give him the time and space to create and build on that. So that's going to be very, very big going into this game, is how are they going to change how they're playing, even if it's just subtle changes, to create time and space for their skilled players to work.
And it might be a hot seat if they don't do that. Like Paul Maurice, he must be on the hot seat. He has to be.
Oh, that would be such a mistake.
Well, like, at the same time, though, if he's not able to, if he gets swept, Kev, if he gets swept, being there as long as he has, and not being able to combat a interim head coach, that is a storyline, man. It has to be.
I think you look okay. Like let's just. This is one thing I don't think that's been talked about enough with Winnipeg, is the Scheifele suspension. They didn't have it, and we talked about this because of quarantine, and we know, like, I think this year when there were team issues, I think they were a lot bigger this year than they have been in previous years. And let me sort of explain what I mean by that. You don't have the opportunity to turn off anything because you're basically, you said it, Devin, you're in Winnipeg. That you can't go anywhere in Winnipeg right now. You're stuck. You're stuck with your team. There was nowhere to get out with the Mark Scheifele suspension. And that is, and remember last year in the play-ins, what that happened in the first 2 minutes of that series against Calgary. Yeah. Who went into the boards? And how did they lose? And they lost. I can't help but think that the Winnipeg Jets, as soon as that Scheifele suspension happened, that they're not all of them, but there was a part of that team that probably went, we're done. And
sorry, continue your point.
And I know what you're about to say, but the mentality around that is they didn't have an opportunity to get away from it, to kind of clear their head and figure out, okay, what are we going to do about this?
That's fair.
And it may not be overtly thinking that way. It just might be underlying too. Like they may be putting up the brave face and saying everything right. Like we're fine, we got this. But it's probably all of it. I think all of it is maybe underlying. And Mark Scheifele is the heart and soul of that team. Blake Wheeler may be the captain, but Mark Scheifele is the heart and soul of that team.
Then if once again we're talking about hypotheticals, but if that's the case, shame on you to Paul Maurice for not being able to get that team to a place where mentally where they can do this, and shame on you, Blake Wheeler, for not being able to rally the troops and support your coach and support your teammates to get to that point. Because right now it doesn't seem like they're there. They're shadows of themselves. Well, we're talking about hypotheticals right now, Kev, right?
But how do you turn it? How do you turn How do you turn a team around like that? Like in this environment, what are you hoping that Paul Maurice does?
Listen,
I'm not saying
if I knew that, I'd be a head coach. Realistically, you got to find the fire of everybody is fueled differently within life, within a competitive atmosphere, or within just I guess life in general. So what fuels that team? Is it the potential for a bonus? Is it a potential for a I mean, Kevin, we're talking about the Stanley Cup. If you're not here to win a Stanley Cup, you're not motivated and you're fueled by that, you shouldn't be playing. Realistically, you should. Even Carl's yelling. Carl's pissed. I like that is the job of a coach to outcoach the other team and outcoach the other coach. Carl, enough. And to make sure that they are able to that the team is able to come out of turmoil. And that was one of the biggest things about Jeff Ward last year. He was able to get the best out of his team after all the shit that they went through with Bill Peters, with TJ Brody going down, right? And he had a great record. He had a great winning record within that time period of all that shit happening. So it really comes down to the leadership group within that locker room, and it comes down to the coach. And if they're not able to do that, and maybe they're mentally just exhausted from this entire year, and maybe it is a wash. But at the same time, you're professionals. You're here for a reason. Kyle Connor, where the fuck are you? Where are you? You score goals all the time, at will sometimes, even though you look like a pizza boy delivery driver. Like, you do what you do best, and come together as a team. And if you're not willing to do that, then yeah, you deserve to be swept. I don't know why I'm so passionate right now about the Jets. I guess I'm just disappointed with the amount of skill and the amount of hype coming in about their top three lines, and they're not getting it done. They're not even close.
I think the other part of this is, as fans and watching the North Division as closely as we have, I'm just going to say these playoffs from the North Division perspective compared to everything else has been a dud.
No, I disagree, Kevin. I disagree. I think part of it is the fact that we haven't seen fans at the level that we've seen in the States. I think that's huge. I think that is the biggest difference between the two. And I think that has nothing to do with the players, nothing to do with the teams. The actual on-ice product has been good. It hasn't been fantastic. But I think we've gotten to a point where we're shitting on the North for shitting on the North's sake. I think we watched Montreal come back from 3-1 to beat the Leafs, and we're saying that this has been a dud playoff. We watched Edmonton lose. Like the storylines have been there, but we've refused to say anything good about the storylines because, oh my gosh, we lost Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid in the first round.
I don't think that's the case, man.
That's exactly what it is. What it is. Because
why do we watch hockey? Why do we watch hockey? To watch good hockey. The storylines are there. Those are the underlying things. But if you don't have a good hockey to watch, we could potentially have two out of the. Hold on. I know I cut you off, but let me make my point. I apologize for cutting you off. Out of the three,
do I need to bring this series,
in? out of the three series that we've seen so far, it's two of them are going to be sweeps, and that's not fun hockey to watch. And yeah, it could be the atmosphere. And you do have a good point there. I don't think it has to do with the fact that we don't have McDavid or we don't have an Austin Matthews. That's more so a Gary Bettman problem, not a fan problem. There's still going to be good hockey to be played.
There's still been good hockey to watch. Still been really good hockey games to watch. We still got to see some good play. I don't think the gap between what's happened down in the States and the other three divisions and what's happened in the North is that big. I think it's been very close. I just think that the biggest difference is the fact that we get to see Nassau Coliseum rocking. We get to see Colorado, Denver rocking, Tampa Bay being packed, and Vegas being packed. That's the biggest difference, in my opinion, in terms of the how you feel about a game, because we talked about it on Sunday. The difference between like the piped in stuff that was good to kind of make you feel like, oh, this is kind of normal, as opposed to the actual raw emotion of the fans. That's the biggest difference. And that's the reason why people seem to want to just shit on the North when it's actually been pretty good, entertaining hockey for the most part this season.
I think when you look back at the Montreal-Toronto series, when the Tavares injury happened, I think it affected both teams mentally. And I think it took them a while. It took them a few games to get back into some sort of intensity. Like it didn't start with that intensity that we were hoping that it would. And that is natural. And I think that's, I mean, maybe the wrong word, dud isn't the right word, but I don't think it hasn't had that excitement. Like,
honestly, I think our expectations were way too high going into this.
Why is that? Why is that a bad thing? Having high expectations. It's the playoffs. Once again, yes, I understand that you have
all I've heard.
You have the fans there. Yes, you want the fans there. Yes, but they're not. So the players have to do something to make it entertaining.
And you're telling me that you haven't been I'm sorry. I'm going to completely disagree with this.
What's entertaining about getting swept?
It's what's entertaining about I just don't think that this North Division, that it's been shit on the North Division all fucking year, and it's driving me absolutely nuts, because it's actually, if you actually take this idea that you have to shit on something for another thing to be good mentality out of it, I don't think that this division has been as bad as people have been talking about. What sells is yes, on ice product, but also stories. We've had that in the North. We've had that.
You have stories everywhere.
That there is stories everywhere, but not as. I think just people had this grand idea of this Canadian division, but one of the biggest things that is missing is fans. One of the biggest things that really drives what makes these Canadian rivalries amazing is the fans, especially when it comes to the cross-continent ones, where it's Vancouver-Toronto, Vancouver-Montreal, Calgary-Montreal, Calgary-Toronto. It's the fans. When you have invading opposing fans coming in and creating more atmosphere.
Yeah, I agree with you that the fans are definitely there to help the atmosphere for sure. But we're not going to shit on the North just for looking at something to shit on. Honestly,
it's everyone though. That I'm
no,
not.
But it's not. You just put that on Kevin and I.
No, I did not. I said
well, because you're having a debate with us right now.
I said we, as in the whole fans, because I've seen it all fucking year, and it's driving me nuts. Because I honestly think that the difference between some of the Colorado and Vegas and Montreal and Toronto and Winnipeg and Toronto isn't actually that big in terms of the entertainment value. It's just the fact is we for some reason, we as hockey fans, not you and Kevin or me or whatever, we as hockey fans seem to want to find a way to shit on stuff and put things down in order to raise other things up, instead of just saying that was a fun game to watch. It was like, oh, now I have to watch fucking this. It's like, can we, personally, I have enjoyed watching all the games that I've watched in these playoffs. Have I enjoyed watching some of the games in the States more? Yes, but guess what? The biggest reason why? It's the fans. It's the atmosphere.
Well, here, let me the Game 4 Edmonton-Winnipeg, that is on my top 5 game. That will be on my top 5 games of the playoffs this year. That was a great hockey game. That really was. That was a lot of fun. That wasn't any fans. That was an intense, good hockey game. I think the reason I'm saying the playoffs is a dud for the North is we haven't had. I think that I wish that these series were longer. I wish that these series were 2-2s and 3-2s and we were flipping back and forth, and that just isn't happening. And I think that's where I'm feeling a bit disappointed. I wanted a bit more competitiveness, and I think overall this year with the North Division, from my perspective, is I was hoping for some intense, good rivalries to come out of this, and I just don't know if that came out of this. I don't know if I can.
As I said, I think those expectations, and I had those expectations as well. I think they were flawed and completely. I just don't think it was realistic based off of the fact that there was no fans.
But you were getting a rivalry between Colorado and Vegas, and that rivalry happened. We'll move on here in a second. That rivalry happened without fans. That rivalry happened because those two went neck and neck for the top seed in the whatever division that they're in. West. I'm confused by which. Yeah. I'm confused by which direction they're going. Are they south or? I know they're not north, but but like
it's
Carolina.
Honda.
It's hot. Sorry, Carolina, Florida, and Tampa battled till the end for first place. We didn't have that this year. We had Toronto was basically coasted to first. Edmonton coasted to central. Montreal coasted to fourth. Realistically, like they did not come into the playoffs. They lost 5 in a row coming into the playoffs.
Yep.
So we just didn't have that intensity overall going in, is my point. And partly fans.
Yeah,
partly.
but also, Kev, like we also had 3 overtime games in a row in that Edmonton Winnipeg series.
Yeah, I'm not. As I said, the Edmonton Winnipeg Game 4 game will be in my top 5 list of games of the year. But I think overall, just for me, I was hoping for more.
Like I said, I know I'm in the minority here, and sorry for yelling at you guys, but I honestly think that we put ourselves in a position to be disappointed with the expectations going into this season. I realized that about halfway through, and I was like, okay, whatever. It is what it is. What makes Canadian rivalries good is the fans. What makes because they bring that energy. They bring that intent, like that feel, that atmosphere that brings the intensity in the game up. Especially when like Calgary, Edmonton, you're going to have a rivalry. Calgary, Vancouver, Edmonton, Vancouver, you're going to have that rivalry. Toronto, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, you're going to have that rivalry. But when you have they're cross-conference rivals, like cross-conference and the reason that we consider them rivals is because of the influx of fans that happen when Vancouver comes to Calgary, when Toronto comes to anywhere, when Montreal goes anywhere. Like it's that's what makes it feel different and more personal. We don't have that without the fans. And whether or not you can. The rivalry with Colorado and Vegas happened because they're 2 good teams that were playing. Yeah, they were able to do that. But that's I don't know. I just think that the difference between the two is not nearly as pronounced. And to call the playoffs a dud in the North, I think is bad. I can't agree with that, with using that language to describe it. Is it maybe a disappointment that we didn't get more? Edmonton wasn't able to win a couple games against Winnipeg. Yes. Is it disappointing that we're looking at a 3-0 Habs lead in this series? Yeah. You can say that's disappointing without calling it a dud, in my opinion.
I think that's just like really semantics. At the end of the day, disappointing and a dud to me are pretty much the exact same thing.
There's gray. There's so much gray in this world to
absolutely
paint with a broad brush and say that it's disappointing and dud is the same thing. I think it's absolutely just no. It shows a complete lack of nuance and willing to think.
Okay,
then-
let's just we'll move on from this, and we'll agree to disagree on this one, and then we'll move on. Let's talk about the actual Colorado Vegas series, because this series is is interesting, because I think everyone were so impressed with Colorado coming out of this. They swept the Blues. Vegas came in having trouble scoring, even having trouble with a bit of a killer instinct. They took over in game 2, but Colorado was able to win on, I think, a bit of a questionable penalty. If you're a Vegas Golden Knight fan, I think that you still are holding on to that. But Vegas was able to tie the series. I'm still not counting Colorado out of this, though. I may be insane. And the reason is I still think Colorado has the skill to do it. But Vegas. I think that one of the things is Vegas does know how to win, and maybe the lesson here is Colorado still hasn't quite figured that out. But I'm still not counting Colorado. I don't think Vegas is roll. I don't think Vegas is rolling to a 6-game victory here. I'm still sticking with Colorado. Damn it.
Well, considering you had already written Vegas off after game 2.
I wrote Vegas off before the series. I said that the series is not going to go as long as people think.
Especially up to game 1.
Game 1, I was like, that's game 1, but I just didn't see. I still think Colorado's the better team, but may not mean that they win the series.
Yeah, you know what? I had Vegas written off. I did. After that 7-1 shellacking in the first game, it didn't really show me too much. But Marc-Andre Fleury, credit to him, he's been damn good in this series. And yeah, like you said it, Kev, Vegas knows how to win. And who would have thought? Who would have thought? First of all, okay, yeah, Vegas going into their first season, they go to the Stanley Cup Finals. But before the inception of Vegas, who would have thought that would have been a sentence of saying that Vegas knows how to win within the first however many years they've been in the NHL? It just blows my mind. But they do. They've been there. They've done it. And especially the acquisitions of Pacioretty and the acquisitions of their big free agent signing, Pietrangelo in the offseason. Man, they just keep on adding, and they keep on adding. And they're so resilient. Marc-Andre Fleury, he's been the lows of the low. Playing internationally, like very, very well known, and even just in Pittsburgh, he understands what it feels like to lose. So I feel like that is why he's such a good winner, because he has been at the low, and he's been able to come out on top. And I feel like that. On the other hand, you have Nathan McKinnon and company, who they have so much talent over there. They really do, and. I feel like Nathan McKinnon really has something to prove within this NHL and within the playoffs. He trains. He's from the same town as Sidney Crosby, Cape Breton, right? Am I right with that? No, it's Cape Breton. No, it's not.
No,
Cole Harbor. Both of them are from Cole Harbor. They train in the off season, and Nathan McKinnon has learned from Sidney Crosby within that, but. He still has more to prove. And so that's what's so scary about Colorado, is that they do have the depth, and they do have the goaltending, and they have good defense. So, you know what, I could see it going 7 games. I really could. Easily.
No team has won on the road yet. There's that old adage, you can't it's not really a series until someone wins on the road. I think this is a very young Colorado Avalanche team. They haven't. This group specifically hasn't had to face this adversity yet. They have to learn how to get through it. I can't wait to watch the rest of the series because it's going to be fun no matter what happens. And no matter what happens in this series, this will be looked at as turning point in this Colorado Core's development. Whether they find a way to pull out a win, or they lose, they're going to learn from this, and they're going to figure out what they've done wrong in these past 2.5 games, really, and find a way to turn it around and learn how to win in the playoffs.
Yeah, there's lessons to be learned there. It's 4 years that the Vegas Golden Knights have been in this league, by the way, beginning with the Stanley Cup final. And, having Marc-Andre Fleury there and his success, I think, has been a huge help to the Vegas Golden Knights. You kind of look at what Pittsburgh did, letting Fleury go to expansion. That's probably that has to be considered one of the biggest gaffes in a long time from Pittsburgh's perspective anyway. But he's been a rock in Vegas. It's allowed them to be the team that they are. Philip Grubauer has been outstanding. I think that the series, I'm not counting Colorado out. Is Vegas surprising me a little bit? Yeah, I think they are. Their depth is good, and Peter DeBoer is a good coach, and I see the Vegas fans are coming from, but I feel like some people are knocking out Colorado now all of a sudden. It was like, well, now Vegas is done, now Colorado's done. This series isn't over yet. I think this will go 7. So I was wrong first, but I
was wrong second.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm more than happy to admit when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And this definitely has. Look, Craig Button.
Yeah.
He has predicted nothing that has been correct within this playoffs. So and he is quote unquote an expert. Depending on who you like and who you don't like within the analyst realm of everybody, but he has been proven wrong. Okay. Who knows? There's something we haven't talked about. What if the Jets actually figure it out tonight? What if they actually get on a roll? That's definitely a possibility. Especially within that core, within that group, it would not surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me that they're able to at least get 1 or 2 more wins within the series. It feels like a little too late if that's the case. But what do you guys think? Who's winning tonight? Jets or Canadiens?
I think Montreal is. I think that this is a back-to-back game. I don't think Dubois is healthy. I don't think Paul Stastny is healthy. I just think the Canadiens have all the momentum. I just feel like Montreal's winning tonight.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Everything I've watched from this series, I don't know, unless there's a switch here that Winnipeg can turn on, and I don't have confidence that they can. I just think that Montreal's going to find another way to win, and that'll be it.
For me, if Nikolai Ehlers finds another level, watch out. And I am so high on Ehlers. I think that he is. We've talked about this on the podcast before. He is underrated for who he is, even though he is in a small, big hockey market, if you will, of the Winnipeg Jets. And Kyle Connor needs to come out and show that he can score at will, because he can. He really can. And as much as I do want to say that Montreal comes out on top, I will go against you guys and say that Winnipeg comes out with the W.
Okay, there we go. You have the predictions here. All right, let's. Boston's up 1-0 on the Islanders early in the first, halfway through the first, and that's a big. That's just a different series altogether in terms of it's about defense and as Gary Galley called a dog's breakfast ways of getting goals. But back in the island, it will be back in the island. I wouldn't be surprised if that goes 7 either. Even Carl.
I hope that goes 7. I really do. Talk about 2 good hockey markets, two teams that really deserve to get to the next round. It's a shame that that this couldn't go longer than 7. To be completely honest with you, I'd love to see more games within this series. But I say Islanders in 7 as of right now.
Yeah, I think the Islanders will find a way to pull it out. I think they've got. I just like the depth of that team, and Barzal's starting to figure it out and starting to figure out what he can and can't do in the playoffs, and that's huge. But one thing is that I think it's going to go 7 as well. I think it is a. I don't think you're wrong picking either team. I think you've got Pasternak, Marchand, Bergeron, McAvoy, and don't forget the X Factor in Taylor Hall. And if anyone's worried about what type of player they're getting when they getting out of the trash fire that is Buffalo, look at how Taylor Hall is playing in Boston. Like, it's just you get them in the right feeling good about themselves and playing for a competitive team, and you're going to get the best out of some of these players. So I do think that I like the Islanders' depth on the blue line better than Boston's, and I think that's what's going to be the edge that they're going to be able to use to win this series.
I like the Islanders up the middle with Barzal, Anthony Beauvillier, and Pajot. And the way Pajot has been playing against Bergeron, this series that's an interesting story. And Beauvillier, that guy can play on my team for sure, up and down. And then you have Casey Kazikas. That's a really strong up the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. Go up and down the lineup. They and especially with that coaching, it's crazy how good that team actually is. Even without Barry Trotz coaching, but with Barry Trotz coaching, I'd be very surprised. Oh my God, Carl. That if they don't come out on top, honestly, and nothing against Boston, because obviously Boston has been there, they've done it. Just ask, Canucks fans, they've done it. So it's proven, and those are the type of teams that you really have to look out for within the playoffs. That anything can happen. It really can, especially with that leadership.
But at the same time with Boston, Brad Marchand scored. You talk about Corey Perry scoring goals at impactful times.
Oh man,
Brad Marchand does it too. I know that people hate him. I understand the hatred, but this guy knows how to score. That goal against Washington in overtime. How guys ridiculous.
And that goal against Varlamov, earlier this series. How ridiculous is that? He goes far side, fucking top Ched. You kidding me?
Yeah.
At that angle, almost at the bottom of the circle. I mean, Varlamov, you're completely out of position. But the positioning of that shot and knowing that, okay, if I put it here, it's going in. If it works, is phenomenal.
And Kev, I just want to clarify, it's not Beauvillier. Well, you just trying to make.
Beauvillier.
It's Brock Nelson who's the center on the second line for the Islanders.
Well, that whole combination, Nelson or Beauvillier, whatever it is, I've always thought Beauvillier was the center because he is actually position labeled as a center, and I've always thought Nelson was the winger. But that combination.
I'm looking at Daily Faceoff and Left Wing Lock, and they both have Brock Nelson as the center on that line.
Interchangeable though, yeah. But you are right. Brock Nelson is the center on that line.
But I still like Beauvillier. Anyway, I just want to quickly touch on. We touched on Canada winning the gold. We talked about Mangiapane. We have the clip out there as well. But Gerard Gallant is getting interviews. Second interview with Columbus. Second interview with Seattle. Second interview with the Rangers. Where does he end up?
I think he. I don't know. I think he'd be a great fit in Columbus. I think you got John Davidson and Kekäläinen, I think if they can sell him on Columbus, I think that's the best fit for him. But he also has proven that he can be the coach of an expansion team and do well with that. So I think I just want to see him in Columbus because I want to see what he can do with that lineup.
On the other hand, I would love to see him in the Rangers to see what he could do with that within the line. I really don't think that there is a wrong place for him to land. If he lands in Seattle, he'll thrive wherever he goes. Honestly, he will. And I believe that it really matters on whether or not he wants to win now or later. Because if he wants to win later, then Seattle and help build that organization, Seattle would be the place to go. If he wants to win now, then it probably would be Columbus. And if he wants to win within the next, in between those two, you got Seattle, who is probably 5 years away. Columbus could be a contender now, depending on if they can keep Seth Jones. Then, right in the middle is the New York Rangers. So I wouldn't be surprised with either of them, and I think he'd be a great fit either way. With even outside of those three teams, whichever team that he goes to within the NHL, he'll thrive because he is that good of a coach.
And yeah, there'll be other options out there in a week or two.
Where are you thinking?
Well, I think we talked about it. Like, there's if Winnipeg gets swept, I think that could potentially be a spot where they change coaches. But as well as there's other
Montreal
potentially if they blow this. Yeah, I think there are going to be other hats and shoes to drop in terms of the coaching carousel. But I think the runners are those three that we talked. The front runners are the three that we talked about.
It'd be interesting if he did go to Montreal because I feel like they're kind of in a transition period of like, okay, well, what do we do? Do we depending if they move on and they believe that they're a contender, which they definitely are. Don't get me wrong. It's just the amount of hype that they came into this season with comparison to the mid-season mark where it's like, oh shit, or like the majority of the people thought that they were going to be getting the playoffs, and then they barely snuck in at the end. Where does the middle lie? You still have Carey Price and you still have a Shea Weber. So I feel like if Bergevin does make a change within that within that head coaching job, he's got to sell hard that they're going to be a contender now and not later. And who knows if that's the case? They really got some good pieces there, and it feels so weird talking about that because of how well they played within this playoffs. But I mean, do you guys remember talking about how Bergevin would be on the hot seat if they don't make the playoffs, and all these ifs, and like especially in the middle of the season, and where they are now?
Yeah.
I just think that there's definitely I'm looking at through the teams, and I think we don't know exactly what's going on in Arizona. I don't think he'd go there, but they'd be really smart to try and get him.
That was being overpaid for sure.
Yeah. But yeah,
I guess along like the West Coast, you have LA, who's up and coming. You have San Jose, who's a bit of a middle ground, we don't really know what they are because they do have good pieces. They just need to find a good goaltender, and I feel like they might be able to get something out even with that aging blue line. Does Brind'Amour have a contract yet officially, or is it still
no?
Exactly. So Brind'Amour could be on the way out. Who knows? And I'll talk about a hot commodity, a hot coach that is a player's coach but still gets results. Man, you got to expect that if Carolina does not sign him to a long-term contract or to a contract in general, that he will be the hottest commodity within the NHL to be a head coach. But that's a big if. But yeah, I don't know. Where else do you have potentially Galanko and Sean?
Who else has contracts coming up again? Is it?
Oh man,
like maybe Dallas. I could see Dallas. Like I know they've got Rick Bowness, but I'm not sure how much longer he's going to want to be the head coach. Like he was always more of an associate coach type guy.
Well, he was high up in that organization too, was he not? Before he went down to be the head coach.
No, he was just the associate head coach. Yeah, hey.
Well, maybe Nashville?
Detroit. Nashville, Detroit.
Yeah. Well, Dave Blashill, that's Detroit's head coach, right? Isn't he? I thought that he signed an extension. Did he not?
I don't think he has. I think he's, or if he did, I think he's got 1 year left.
Fair.
Let's see here.
Fair. And talk about an up and coming team that has draft picks and that has players in the system that are, potentially able to step up here, because Filip Zadina, I was expecting him to come out a little hotter than he has, but he's still young. He's kind of, is he going into his third year or is his second year? This is his third year. Zadina going into his last year of ELC. But Dylan Larkin, they got a decent defensive core there too, so that's definitely a good possibility for sure. And how about Philadelphia? Laviolette's there, right?
No, that's Vigneault.
Laviolette is in Washington. That's right. Yeah, Vigneault.
That's a place that would not be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the hot seat, by the way.
Yeah, well, it sounds like they're going to be making massive changes within, the organization of players, and talk about a kind of a hot spot for Johnny Gaudreau to potentially go, considering that's his favorite team, and he is, from there, quote unquote, or close to it. So there definitely could be a Travis Konechny maybe, or a defense coming back the other way. Who knows? There's so much. There's so many teams out there that do have a bit of turmoil and do have, the knack that they feel like they should be winning now. And that's why I feel like that there will be teams. I've talked about this before, and Sean doesn't really agree with me, but that's why I feel like there's teams that will overreact to either coaches or player personnel or players in general.
I think there will be. I don't think it's going to be as pronounced as maybe I think people are hoping. I don't think Philadelphia will make that move just yet. AV is signed for another, I think, 4 years at $5 million. He's making a lot of money. And then Laviolette signed a 3-year deal before this season at $4.9 million, and he's got 2 years left on that.
Yeah.
Well, the big question in Washington, before we move on here, the big question in Washington is, do they bring back Ovechkin?
Or Kuznetsov, for that matter. I don't know, not the big one, but there's definitely a lot of. I think they will. Let's be realistic here. I think that he wants to start and finish his career within the same organization. So, but it doesn't mean that there isn't things that could happen within, the next few months here that could change his mind. Who knows? Especially potentially if his buddies Orlov, Samsonov, and Kuznetsov are on the hot seat, all being Russians, and Samsonov and Kuznetsov have been criticized for breaching COVID protocols. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just I think Ovi's going back. I don't see them being able to offload Kuznetsov. He's got a 15-team no-trade clause. His cap is $7.8 million for the next 4 years after this, starting next. And but
he's still a serviceable player, and yes, that's an overpay for sure by probably like $1.5 million, considering what he's not really a point getter per se. As far as a goal scorer, and he definitely is a top 2 center within this league. But I don't know, there's something going on with his off ice issues And yes, they are COVID protocols, and they're probably going to go away within the next year. We're going into this next NHL season, but I don't know. It really depends on how that room really takes him coming back in, because he is so important to that team, and he fucked up along with Samsonov, even though Samsonov is a young goaltender and supposedly very, very highly touted.
Samsonov needs a new contract. They don't have too much in the way of cap space to make that happen. But they've got a lot of players signed to long-term deals. Let's see here. They've got, according to cap space going into next season, they've got cap space of $600,000, and they have to sign Samsonov to a new deal.
Well, they might be eating some money here for Kuznetsov potentially if they don't think that he's going to be a fit within that room. Let alone if we're talking about cap space, how about the Tampa Bay Lightning? What the fuck are they going to do within that?
Sorry, they've got 11.
It's pretty simple. Pretty simple what they'll do. Kucherov will be hurt again. Stamkos will be hurt again. They'll put them back on LTIR, and they'll be back for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Sorry, they've the Caps have $11.9 million, but they need to fix something in that. They need to fix something because most of that's going to go to Ovi, right? Like he's not taking a pay cut, and he's already making over $9 million. So basically, it's less than $2 million to make that work. It's there's definitely going to be moves out of Washington to make that situation work when they bring back once they get their that contract done with Ovechkin.
Well, it's definitely a good off-season conversation for sure.
I have Washington in our expansion thing. I'll just say this: I don't think it's as slam dunk as you think that Ovi. I'm not as convinced Ovi is staying in Washington as you guys are.
Where is he going?
Calgary.
Well, I'll throw a look. He won a cup with Barry Trotz. That's
could see him on the island for sure.
It's look, and the way that they played, that helped. That worked for Ovechkin. It's certainly what's happening in Washington isn't working for him now.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
And he doesn't need the money. So he's not gonna. I don't know. Like he would be a person that could take a pay cut and say, "I'll play for less to win a cup."
Well, I think he'll pay less, or he'll get paid less to score more goals.
Yeah.
Islanders have Beauvillier to sign. They've got
you got his
Adam
name
Pelech. Pardon?
You got his name right. Look at you.
I know. They've got Adam Pelech to sign. They've got Ilya Sorokin to sign. They've got Anders Lee and Johnny Boychuk on LTIR.
What's their projected cap space?
Let's see here. I'm trying.
Because if that's the case, you can put Beauvillier on a bridge deal. You can put Sorokin on a bridge deal, especially with Varlamov making. I think he's making what, 7?
5.
5? Okay, all right. Either way, it's a decent salary for a goaltender. I could, what is there?
Million. They've got $12.9 million in cap space, and they need to fill out. They said Adam Pelech's going to get he's going to get a good deal. Yeah. Beauvillier is going to get a good deal. They just.
Sorokin's probably going to get
hold on.
3.5.
I think Boychuk's going to stay on LTIR. If you take Anders Lee back off, it's $5.9 million that they've got to work with. So
it's not a lot.
Not a lot.
Well, either way though, this is off-season stuff we should be talking about later on.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll. I've got them in the expansion draft, so I'm looking forward to that as well. I do want to touch on a couple of news items that happened today. One actually does affect the Abbots for whatchamacallit. That's the team that's what I'm calling them for now until they give a name. But the American Hockey League has announced that they've approved a schedule unification plan to see all teams play 72 regular season games beginning in 22-23. Next season, 21-22, teams in the Atlantic, North, and Central have the option of playing either 76 or 72, while teams in the Pacific will play 68. So they're going to be balancing this out. And probably a good thing for the AHL because that's a little bit of an imbalance there. But that's news from Abbotsford and what's going on in the American Hockey League.
Yeah, I think that's what they want to do. I think it's the wrong way to go. I think they need to. I think I would love to see them basically split into two sort of different leagues and have you take the Texas teams and then you throw them in with the West. And you build a league around that, and then you just have two separate ones, and then you have the winners based off for the Calder Cup at the end. And I think because that'll cut down on costs and travel costs for everyone. I think that's the biggest thing is these teams aren't the tickets aren't all that much, and I don't think these teams are making that much of a profit out of this, and it's tough to handle all that travel. So I think they need to be looking at cutting down travel and taking, and we look at baseball. They've got so many different like feeder leagues that are a little more regionally based. I think that's what they should be doing. But it is what it is, and it's going to be fun to watch that 9-team division out west.
Yeah, so the division alignment, the Abbotsford's going to be in the Pacific Division in 21-22 with Bakersfield, Colorado, which is the Colorado Avalanche, Henderson Silver Knights, the Ontario Reign, which is in California, I believe, for the Los Angeles Kings, San Diego Dulls, the Anaheim Ducks, the San Jose Barracuda, Calgary Flames, Stockton Heat, the Tucson Roadrunners, and in 22-23, I believe that Seattle's Palm Springs team will be in that division.
Every time you say Abbotsford, I always think Heat. Every single time.
It's going to be Aviators, I think. I hope something like that. I think.
It's the whatchamacallits until they figure it out. The other, you may not know the name, but she is. You may not know the name Renee Hess. But you may have heard of Black Girl Hockey Club. She is the founder, and she is a nominee for the Willie O'Ree Community Hero Award. And so I wanted to give her she's done a lot of tremendous work in terms of community building and raising awareness on social issues within hockey. So congratulations. I don't know who the other nominees were, but I did see that Renee Hess was a nominee, and I wanted to give her congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations to her. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, that Willie O'Ree Award is something that I think we need to parade out more, because it's a fantastic award that celebrates people who are doing really good work to help grow the game and be more inclusive, which is what we want for hockey.
Yeah, let's look. I'm going to find the nominees here while we're at it. Sorry, give me 2 seconds. It's Kevin Hodgson and Howard Smith have also been nominated. And the award is given to an individual who, through the sport of hockey, has positively impacted his or her community, culture, or society. So, Hodgson's Heroes Program, Hockey Educating Reaching Out Society, for which he serves as executive director, works with at-risk youth and with youth who experience physical and cognitive challenges, providing them with a safe and inclusive on-ice environment. And Smith co-founded Pittsburgh ICE, Inclusion Creates Equality, along with Cliff Benson. Their program focuses on offering children of all socioeconomic backgrounds the opportunity to learn how to play hockey. And he also works with the Steel City Icebergs as well. So, congratulations to all three. And I don't know who it is a fan vote that you can vote till June 11th. So vote if you want. Let's leave it there. We will be back. When will we be back?
Oh, maybe tomorrow.
Maybe we would be back tomorrow. recapping if the broom is out. Is the broom out, or is it left in the closet and the Jets live to fight another day? Why is there a broom in front of? Yeah. How do we follow everyone?
I am BeardedConnect03 on Twitter.
I am GordHowe09 on Twitter, and I just want to make a definition clear to everybody on the podcast and everybody listening that a dud is an explosion that fails to occur. So expectation is high, and nothing happens. Yes.
Well, nothing. Stuff has happened.
Kevin,
Stuff has happened.
Kevin, please go on.
Tyler's TNOBLE Schneid's, which we're putting a challenge on Tyler's hair. By the way, we're going to have a tomorrow. That'll be a tease. We want Tyler a new haircut for Tyler. And then Schneid's SCHNEIDZ. Podcast_hockey, Facebook.com, the Hockey Podcast. Like us there, give us a follow there. YouTube.com, the Hockey Podcast. Like and share it from there as well. Subscribe to the audio. Thanks, everyone. We hope this podcast wasn't a dud, and we will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now. Or a disappointment.